Just moments ago, on the House floor, we passed by overwhelming numbers the ability to keep government open for the next 6 weeks.
Just hours ago, in a 335-91 vote, the House approved a 45-day funding bill to keep federal agencies open. But the shutdown deadline is still looming. That's because that same bill must now pass the Senate and then be signed by the president, all before midnight tonight. So the clock is ticking. Thanks for joining us here at 7. I'm Colin Dorsey. To get this bill passed, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy dropped his demands for steep spending cuts and relied on Democratic votes. The bill increases federal disaster assistance funding, but does not include aid for Ukraine. And tonight, reporter Rob Kirkpatrick begins our coverage of that developing story.
The bill is passed, and without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Hours before the federal government was set to shut down, the House passed a last-ditch measure to fund the government through mid-November.
On the House floor, we passed by overwhelming numbers the ability to keep government open for the next 6 weeks. I asked Congress, we'll stay in session the next 2 weeks, continue to work to get this done.
House Speaker McCarthy decided to rely on Democrats to help push through his temporary funding plan.
We went from devastating cuts that would have impacted the health, the safety, and the economic well-being of the American people in 24 hours to a spending agreement that meets the needs of the American people across the board.
Meanwhile, the Senate still needs to approve the measure for it to take effect.
I think one of the things we've seen over the last decade or so is that we have more and more of these points where there's a disagreement and we walk right up to the very end.
Even if a deal is reached Saturday, it won't be long before lawmakers will have to scramble once again to reach a long-term agreement. Michael George, CBS News.
And if the bill doesn't pass the Senate and is signed by the president come midnight tonight, Governor DeWine says Ohio is ready for a possible shutdown. In a statement, the governor saying, in part, we've made contingency plans to ensure that our state programs receive significant federal funding will operate as normal for the coming weeks. That includes benefit programs such as WIC, SNAP, and TANF that provides food and other resources to Ohio families.